As someone who watches a lot of movies, part of the fun is giving my own sort of qualitative judgments to movies and logging, reviewing, and rating them. Picking what films are your favorite, figuring out what you think is good or bad, or what makes you like or dislike something, and ultimately just developing your own taste and palette for film. People often ask me how I developed my own rating scale and what criteria I use to rate movies, so I thought it would be fun to get on here and talk about it. I'm Josh from Just Mash. Let's figure it out. As an avid Letterboxd user, that's where I log and rate all my movies, so I use the Letterboxd rating scale of a half star to 5 stars. I try to go kind of Shakespearean with my half star and 5 star ratings, giving them to what I believe are truly the worst films ever made and the best films ever made. In between that, though, I don't want to say there's little rhyme or reason to why I would give something 1.5 to versus 2 stars, but ultimately in between it can be a lot more of a toss-up. When I rate a film, I try and do it based off of a balance of what I think is good or bad, what I like or dislike, and ultimately just the vibes. Now, just because I rate something lowly does not mean that I dislike it, it just means that I don't think it's very good. On top of that, there are plenty of films that I have seen but have not given a rating because it's been a long time since I've seen them, and there are plenty of films that would get a higher or lower rating on a rewatch. So what we'll do here today is we'll go through each rating, and I'll give some examples of what I gave that rating and why. Half star. Out of the 3,005 films I have seen, I have only given 32 half-star ratings. In order for me to give a film a half star, it has to seriously be a contender for the worst movie I've ever seen. It has to be incoherent or incomprehensible. It has to be a serious offense to humanity, or it just has to be a movie that I absolutely despise. Some examples of this would be The Room, Jack and Jill, The Human Centipede 2 and 3, and Knight of Cups. Now, that's not to say that I'm right about these movies. Every movie has merit, and if you like these movies, that is totally fine, but for me, never again. 1 star. I've only given 73 films a 1-star rating. Now, with some of the differences between these ratings being a half star, sometimes that can feel like a great difference or not that much of a difference at all. To get a 1-star rating for me, a film pretty much has to be absolutely dreadful, but there's at least one thing about it that I find redeemable in some way. I don't want to give a film a half-star rating. I don't enjoy doing that. Not that it matters, but if there's something that I can do to give a movie 1 star over a half star, I'm going to try and find it. Some examples of this are Catwoman, The Ridiculous Six, Gus Van Sant's shot-for-shot remake of Psycho, The Bye-Bye Man, and The Boondock Saints. 1.5 stars. I've given exactly 100 films a 1.5 star rating. The difference between 1 and 1.5 really isn't that much, to be honest with you. A 1.5 star movie is not the worst movie I've ever seen. It's not in contendership for the worst movie I've ever seen, but it is a movie that I think is bad and did not enjoy watching. Examples of this would be Madam Web, Terminator Salvation, 2018's Halloween, Spiral, and Fant4stic. 2 stars. I've given 191 films a 2-star rating. 2 stars for me is a film that is ultimately bad, but has a good concept, has some good acting. There's things in it that are redeemable that make it not 1.5 star level. It's films that have a lot of potential within them, or it could just be films that are well made but are just kind of boring. Some examples of this would be Spring Breakers, Argyle, Rebel Moon, Thor Love and Thunder, and Ang Lee's Hulk. 2.5 stars. I've given 327 movies 2.5 stars. For me, the difference between a 2.5 star and a 3-star film is 2.5 star is the best of bad, and 3 star is the worst of good. On a 10-point scale, 2.5 would be 5 and 3 would be 6, so they're kind of right in the middle. These are films that are maybe more enjoyable, but just ultimately aren't that good, or movies that just didn't really resonate with me, and ultimately I think have a lot of flaws. Films like this would be Venom, White Chicks, Free Guy, House of Gucci, and Lucy. 3 stars. I've given 637 films 3 stars. For me, 3 stars is not a bad rating. It's a flawed movie, but that means that to some degree it was enjoyable to me, and I think that the filmmaking has some merit to it. Not every movie I've given 3 stars I've liked, but there have been plenty of movies that people would consider worse than I do that I gave 3 stars because I just enjoyed them. Some 3-star films for me are Jurassic World, Coda, Bullet Train, A Quiet Place, and Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. 3.5 stars. 3.5 stars is the rating that I've given out the most, with 666 films getting the 3.5 star treatment. 3.5 is a good thing. If I give a movie 3.5 stars, generally speaking, I'm happy with it, unless I had crazy high expectations for it. Generally speaking, it's a movie that is good, watchable, rewatchable, entertaining, maybe nothing special, sometimes special, but ultimately it's a movie that I would recommend to people. Examples of this are Air, Legally Blonde, Inside Out 2, The Menu, and Doctor Strange. 4 stars. I've given 519 films a 4-star rating. 4 is where we really start getting into great territory for me. It's where things go past being entertaining and start getting into the special territory. It's where movies really start to shine and make me proud to be someone that watches movies. Examples of this would be Wolf of Wall Street, Knives Out, Shrek, Nope, and Spider-Man 2. 4.5 stars. I've only given 231 films a 4.5 star rating. For me, because of the way that I rate movies, I view 5-star as the greatest film of all time. 4.5 star I look at as essentially a 10 out of 10 movie, but not in the greatest film of all time territory. Now, these films could be a 5-star film on a rewatch, but the first time that I watched it, I just decided that it wasn't quite there yet for me. These are movies that are incredible and pretty much do everything right. They just don't quite make it to all-timer status for me. A 4.5 star film for me would be Challengers, Inception, The Big Lebowski, Iron Man, and Coraline. 5 stars. Out of the 3,005 films I've seen, I've only given 64 5-star ratings. I really try to save 5-star films for the absolute pinnacle of cinema to me. I also try and stay away from just giving my favorite movies 5 stars. I've got no problem with people that do that on Letterboxd. It's your own rating scale. Do whatever you want. For me, though, I try to make sure that it is truly a special movie, that if someone made the argument for it to be the greatest film of all time, I wouldn't tell them they're wrong. Usually the criteria for me to give a movie a 5-star rating is if I have some sort of emotional attachment to it or I truly feel like the film changed me while I was watching it. One day I'll probably do a video about all of my 5-star films if there's a demand for it, but for now some examples of this would be 2001: A Space Odyssey, La La Land, Akira, Her, and The Thing. As I always say, I am the authority on nothing. My opinion is not special or more important than anyone else's that watches movies. This is just someone who watches a lot of them and explaining how they rate movies. Let me know in the comments below what films you've given a 0.5-star or a 5-star film to. Let me know which films that I rated either higher or lower than you would have. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. I've been Josh from Just Mash. Until next time.